guys, my name is Lilly and today I want to make the probably most important video on this YouTube channel. I've put my Hashimoto's disease into remission and I want to tell you how I did it. So I've had Hashimoto's disease for 12 years and I found out how to put it into remission. It took me quite a long time, so today I want to tell you what mistakes I made, and you can of course heal this disease much faster. In the hindsight, it's actually quite easy, but you have to make a really big diet change. So, of course, I have to say I'm not a medical doctor, I'm not giving medical advice, so the information that you hear today you can discuss with your physician, and then you can make your own informed decision. But of course, I'm not giving any medical advice. I just want to tell you this story about how I personally put Hashimoto's disease into remission. Okay, let's start at the beginning. So here I have the proof that I'm going to show you today. This is proof of all of my blood work, of sonography, of scintigraphy, of my doctor's visits and so on, and how I suffered with this Hashimoto's disease. Hashimoto's disease is an autoimmune disorder and doctors are saying that it's not healable, but I disagree. I never thought that this is true, and now I finally have changed my diet so that I put my Hashimoto's in remission. So right now I don't have Hashimoto's anymore, the first time in 12 years. So 12 years ago when this started, I was getting really tired, and then I went to the doctor, and finally after a couple of months they found out that I have Hashimoto's disease. So I went to the doctor and my first TSH value was diagnosed in 2012, and back then I had a TSH of 7.06. so that's far too high. That's a really bad value. And then my physician sent me to a specialized thyroid doctor, and he made an ultrasound and also a scintigraphy, and he diagnosed me with Hashimoto's disease. So Hashimoto's disease is going to make you tired, and antibodies are going to attack your thyroid gland, and then you don't have enough of hormones, and then you get tired. So without the thyroid, actually, you would die. This is how severe Hashimoto's disease is, okay? So the thyroid gland is still producing hormones, but not enough so that you feel well, or so that you want to make sports or want to go out and see friends. So most of the time you're just going to lie around at home on the couch. So then of course the treatment for Hashimoto's disease is not the root cause, because they don't know the root cause, but they rather just treat the symptoms. So they will just give you thyroid hormones that you lack, okay? One medication for this is levothyroxine, for example. So this is what my first thyroid doctor gave to me, and I took 50 micrograms each day. So normally if you take the hormones, you can live quite a normal life. You will not lose too much of your life expectancy, so a lot of people just live with this disease and they just take the hormones. But with me there was a problem. Of course, I could not take the hormones, because the hormones, they made me feel really sick. So then I went to the doctor. I told him I cannot take the hormones. He said, oh, just keep taking them, you will get used to it. But that was a lie. I got never used to it. So I kept taking the hormones. I felt really bad, on top of already having Hashimoto's disease. And then I went to the next doctor, and then I told the next doctor, I have Hashimoto's disease, but I cannot take the medication because I feel really weird and bad if I take it. So then the next doctor diagnosed me with Hashimoto's disease. They made an ultrasound. They said, okay, you have Hashimoto's disease, but you should still take 50 micrograms. And then I said, okay, let's try a different medication. So then I tried L-tyroxine Henning, some, I don't even, Eutirox and all of those, names. So 3 different kinds of medication, but I could never really take them because they made me really sick. And then I went to another doctor and he told me the same thing. And he told me, yeah, maybe if you cannot take the medication, then don't take it, because maybe that's not too good, okay? Then I went to the next thyroid doctor and he told me the same thing. And in that time, I've made a chart here for you so you can see how I felt. I felt really bad, so this is the chart here. Now we are on top, where we were right after the diagnosis. So here I've made a Hashimoto well-being chart. So red is feeling really unwell, and then green is feeling great, and that's the timeline. Then one doctor had the idea, oh, maybe we should check the adrenal glands. So if you have problems with the thyroid medication, then you really need to go to a hospital where they check you and check up your adrenals. So then one doctor found out that my adrenals are not working correctly. So apparently I have a minimal latent function of adrenal glands, because my cortisol, 24-hour cortisol in the urine is zero. It's zero, okay? So after this diagnosis, I have ordered another medication, Nature Freud from America. So it's a desiccated thyroid medication, which is made from the pig's thyroid. And I only took 8 micrograms, but still those 8 micrograms also made me feel sick. So I could not take it. So then I was freaking out a little bit, because I already felt like 4 years really bad. So then we are already at 2018. Then I started to search for alternatives, and then I found this book here, and this book saved my life. So if you have Hashimoto's disease, you really need to read this book. And in this book there's this theory that Hashimoto's disease is actually caused by a leaky gut. So for some kind of reason, there are several different reasons why you can develop a leaky gut, and it can be medications or gluten or other food sensitivities, SIBO, and so on. So there are many causes of leaky gut. So now here, this is a leaky gut where the barrier doesn't have tight junctions anymore. So now the food can go through the stomach into your blood system. So now the problem is, if, for example, gluten molecules or milk, dairy products, they go into your bloodstream, and then the body is going to produce antibodies against these freely floating proteins, because the body wants to get rid of those proteins. They are in a place where they shouldn't be. So the body makes antibodies to get rid of those proteins. But the problem is, the proteins of milk and gluten look the same as the protein in the thyroid. And this is called molecular mimicry. And then, by accident, the antibody is also attacking the thyroid. So that's the theory in this book here. And then I thought, okay, why not try it? Why not get rid of gluten and milk in the diet and see what happens? Because I didn't have any other choice anymore. I felt really bad on Hashimoto's disease. But I also couldn't take the Hashimoto's medication, because this medication made me feel even worse than only having Hashimoto's disease. Okay, so then I decided to start the gluten-free and dairy-free diet. And this was in 2018. So the problem was, back then, I was also eating those fancy gluten-free products in the supermarket that you can purchase. I don't want to mention the brand, because I'm afraid that the brand will sue me. So back then I didn't know that in those gluten-free products there's still gluten in there, because according to laws in Europe, they can still put up to 0.1% of gluten in gluten-free products. So they can still label it as gluten-free, but still there's 0.1% of gluten, or sometimes even more, in those breads, for example, or cereals, or whatever you purchase. So back then I didn't know it. I thought it's 100% gluten-free, but it's not, okay? So still my condition got better. Oh yeah, I forgot to tell you something. In the beginning, when I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease, my antibodies, the TPO antibodies, they were at 600, 1000, 740. So that's really bad. That's a really high antibody count, and I felt so bad. Sometimes I would lay on the couch and I couldn't get up for 6 weeks because I was busted, okay? So that's really bad, and that's a really high antibody value. So then when I started with the gluten and dairy-free diet, including the so-called gluten-free products from the supermarket, then my condition got better. Then the antibodies dropped to 280, 99, 176, 140, 239. So then I got weak, and in 2021 I started eating dairy again because I wanted to see, is it really the gluten, or is it the dairy, or is it both? So I got weak, I wanted to eat milk again, drink milk, and you know, all those good products. And then I started eating milk and dairy products. So then, after 3 months of eating milk and dairy products, my antibody value raised again to 441. And that's almost as bad as back then, but still better, but it has worsened. So my condition was catastrophal again. I felt really bad. And then after I saw this value here, the 441 antibody count, I immediately stopped eating dairy again. And after 6 months, I still had an antibody count of 439. So now, why is it taking so long until the antibody drops again? The problem is that the antibody has a half-life of 3 to 6 months. In some literature, I read that it's more than this. So if you're eating a pizza today, it's going to mess with your thyroid for at least 3 to 6 months, maybe even longer. So this is why you cannot cheat with this diet, because if you cheat, the antibodies will destroy your thyroid for months and months. Next, actually there's something that you can do which is going to speed up the healing and the getting rid of your antibodies, and that's fasting. So in August 2022, I participated in the survival show Naked and Afraid on Discovery Channel. And before the challenge, which was July, just a month before that, I had this really bad antibody value with 439. So then I went on Naked and Afraid, 21 days, extreme keto. I lost like 13 kilograms. I'm not recommending this to thin people, actually. This is not what I recommend, okay? But I just want to show you what effect this show had on my TPO antibodies. So then I came back on the 1st of September to Austria, and on the 9th of September I've ordered another blood test. And now the TPO antibodies are down to 188. So in just 2 months I could reduce the antibody value from 400 to 188, and that's huge. So never before have my antibody values sunken that fast. Alright, but I was still eating the gluten-free products from the supermarket. So a couple of months later, I still had 160 antibodies. So then next, another condition came, which has nothing to do with Hashimoto's disease, so that's something separate. You don't have to do this if you have Hashimoto's disease, but starting with November 2022, for some kind of reason, I could not take or tolerate starches anymore in my food. So if I was eating noodles, rice, potatoes, it was making me feel like sick, like, I don't know, being poisoned or something, and I had to lay down like 8 hours after eating this. So because of this, I switched to the ketogenic diet for 2 months, and then also my antibody values dropped again from 160 to 97. Alright, so then I stopped the keto diet because I was not feeling that great anymore after 2 months. I got a racing heart, so for me, I don't know, I don't feel that great on keto. I have to admit it, yeah. So then I changed my diet to a paleo diet, and I ate no gluten-free products anymore from the store, okay? And then my antibodies started to really drop. So then you can see they dropped from 97 to 80 to 71, 59, 45, and in September 2024, 28. And that was the time when I was feeling really good with the thyroid. I thought, hey, I don't have Hashimoto's disease anymore. I don't feel it anymore. So how about I go to the sonography and get an ultrasound of my thyroid. So this here is the document of this latest sonography. And I actually went to the doctor who made the ultrasound, and I said to him, hey, I think I don't have Hashimoto's disease anymore because of my diet change. And he just laughed at me because, you know, every doctor thinks that autoimmune conditions are not healable. So he just said, yeah, let's take a look at the thyroid. Okay, and then he took a look at the thyroid, and then he didn't say a lot anymore in the first few minutes, and he was searching and searching. And then he said, okay, I really cannot detect Hashimoto's disease in your thyroid anymore, and it looks as if I never had Hashimoto's disease. And he was very baffled because I was a patient at his place for a couple of years already, so he could see the old documents where he was still diagnosing me with Hashimoto's disease. And so he was baffled. So now he wrote in this document that he can see homogeneous parenchyma structures, but he cannot see any chronic inflammation anymore, which would point to Hashimoto's disease. Right? So this was conducted in March 2025, just a month ago. So the last time I was at his place was in May 2023. So this is when I still had Hashimoto's disease. And here he's writing, you can see an increased vascularization, also known as Hashimoto thyroiditis, and the structure is inhomogeneous, and there are spots with echo poor zones. So that was before, when I still had Hashimoto's disease. And now I want to show you the latest blood work. So this is my latest blood work. TSH is at 3.34, which is in the normal range. Free T4 hormone is exactly in the middle, 1.2. Free T3 hormone is at 2.85, which is in the normal range. And then also TPO antibodies right now are at 31, and the normal range is below 34. So I'm still in the normal range. So then I went to my doctor and said, is my Hashimoto's disease in remission? And he admitted that my Hashimoto's disease is in remission, and actually I have a very good physician. And he also told other Hashimoto patients that they should not eat gluten and milk. And I'm not the only one from his practice which has put Hashimoto's disease into remission. And I also know another Hashimoto patient, and she also has the same doctor like me, and she also put Hashimoto's disease into remission. So she only had to reduce the gluten actually. She can still eat milk. So some people, they can still eat milk, but I can't because I tried. So if you're lucky, you just have to leave away gluten, but in most cases it's gluten and milk. And if you are very unlucky, it's gluten, milk and eggs. So it really depends what your food sensitivity is. So yeah, I don't have it anymore. I put it in remission. I have to say I'm really happy, but also I have to say I'm really sad because it took me so long to figure this out. 12 years of chronic disease, and it was not a lot of fun to be sick like this. Most doctors don't know about leaky gut. Some doctors, they now learn about it. Now I even know a second doctor who also told me the same, that I shouldn't eat gluten and milk. And so slowly, you know, doctors are learning about this condition. and I put my Hashimoto's disease in remission. So I'm really happy about it, but it took a long time. Yeah, by the way, I googled how much thyroid medication is sold in America. In the US, I believe 2013, thyroid medication was sold, I think it was $1.19 billion or something. So $1 billion of thyroid medication are sold approximately just in the US, 2013. So yeah, of course, if I was a pharma company and I want to make money, I would not tell this a patient, you know, because I want to sell drugs and make money, right? So now nobody is making money with my thyroid anymore, and I don't have to purchase any thyroid medication anymore. So I'm glad about that. It's saving me a lot of money. But yeah, still a lot of people are taking it, taking the medicine, eating gluten and dairy, getting sick from it. Yeah, actually, I've told a couple of my friends about this, who also have Hashimoto's disease. Some say, oh yes, I'm going to try it. But some say, okay, I believe you, but I still want to eat gluten and milk because I like eating it and I don't feel bad taking the thyroid medication. So I choose to be sick, but I can eat schnitzel, I can eat, I don't know, tiramisu and drink milk. So some people, they just don't want to change the diet, and that's also fine. But if you want to change your diet, you have to know this and know how to do it. So gluten and milk, and also gluten-free products from the supermarkets, this is a no-go. And I believe if you get rid of those foods, it will probably take you 1.5 years to put your Hashimoto's disease into remission. You can do it probably faster if you are fasting, or if you are on the ketogenic diet, carnivore, if you are intermittent fasting. This is also helping. So fasting helps. I think it's really surprising how much my Naked and Afraid adventure dropped my antibodies from 439 to 188 in just 2 months. So that's crazy, guys. Yeah, now I'm doing a very strict paleo diet by Dr. Paul Saladino, and he's also eating dairy, but I cannot eat dairy. So I'm doing this diet without the dairy, and I feel so much better. For some reason, I cannot eat starches. If somebody of you guys is a doctor and has an idea why I cannot eat starches, then please let me know, because this is a mystery that I haven't solved yet. So starches is a thing that I cannot eat, but you know, I'm a fan of the paleo diet, so I think we've eaten paleo 300,000 years, and back then I don't think a lot of people had Hashimoto's disease or any other autoimmune disorders. So I think that's maybe what I should be eating. What you should be eating is up to you. So you have to make your own informed decision on what diet you want to choose. I choose the paleo diet, and I'm doing good in it. And now I'm having energy again to do a lot of things, you know. If you can, please share this video with everybody you know that has Hashimoto's disease. I wished that somebody told me this information 12 years ago. This is it, guys. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned till next time.